Welcome to another Quintessential Roots podcast. I'm your host, Renee Barron. It's the most wonderful time of the year, right? Which makes it the most stressful time of the year. So this is the time of the year where we really need to guard our mental health and wellness, because from about November to January, people who are affected by seasonal affective disorder, there's a lot of stress due to the holidays, trying to live up to everybody's expectations. And then normal life, there's internal conflict, people suffering from depression and so forth. Perhaps you're a single mother just struggling to make ends meet. And then on top of it, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, and all of the expectations from your children, and you want to help them, but you're in a financial bind. Or perhaps, you're a young man trying to make life turn out right for yourself, and you're having a hard time in life making things work out. The same old issues keep popping up, and it's a burden, and the same old people are coming around. Perhaps you're from a family who has ups and downs, and perhaps you just can't seem to get along, or perhaps you're from a toxic family, and maybe you had one or two parents that were narcissistic, maybe narcissistic siblings as well. Maybe there was abuse. Maybe you've been disconnected from your family system and you feel isolated and alone. Whatever your current familial status, this podcast is for you. And so I want this to be more like a dialogue. So if you could chime in, comment, participate, that would be ideal. Now, also, now I just want to pose a question before we get started. Now, do you celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, the solstice, or do you just spend time with your family because you have time off from work? Can you put a comment in the chat? Let us know. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and put that in the chat as well. And then I just want to, and you might want to get a pen and paper, because I have a lot of resources to give you today. All right, let me just see. Yep, just post it right in the comment section. So just to get started, I just want to mention that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And the statistics are a little bit behind. They have statistics for 2019, but during the pandemic 2020, they don't have anything from 2020 to 2022. And I have to say that during the pandemic, there was a lot of crisis with mental health. So I'm sure the results are going to be staggering when they come out. But in 2019, 47,500 Americans died by suicide. And there were, in 2019, an estimated 1.38 million people who attempted suicide. So there's a lot of people that are enmeshed in dysfunctional family. They choose to live in denial that there's been abuse, either physically, emotionally, or sexually. That's a lot of the problem here, but we'll discuss different scenarios. And every holiday, these families put on the perfect family facade, taking pictures, selfies of this festive, happy event, right? And have this perfect family image on those photos. But not all families do have those kind of issues. Maybe there's a family that didn't have abuse, but maybe there's some sibling rivalry or something like that in the family. Maybe there's a member in the family that likes to bully, or there's some unresolved issues. And so holidays can be difficult for those families because it's unresolved. There's a wound there. There's also people who grew up with the narcissistic parent or caregiver, and those type of caregivers or parents tend to groom the siblings to be to have conflict. They don't want them to be united. They keep them separated. So it's important to note what a lot of the family drama is rooted in. So my question to people who are enmeshed in dysfunctional, toxic families: why do you want to spend time with your family on a time that's supposed to be joyous if it upsets you, if it's causing you pain? That's something to think about, something to consider. Why exactly do you feel obligated? What are your whys? That's something to reflect on personally. Do you know your triggers? What are the triggers? What happens every year or every family gathering? What are the things that you need to watch out for when you go to these family functions? So I do have some tips for people if they choose to go to these gatherings. So what you need to do if you're going to go to the gathering and you know there's going to be some kind of drama with someone, plan ahead, set your boundaries for yourself. And these boundaries are not for the other person, they're for you. I have a letter that I want to read because let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. The letter from the individual. I dread holidays. I can't stand going to my in-laws. My sister-in-laws are the worst. They only want us to come for the gifts. The only reason we go is to make my mother-in-law happy. But I'm sick of leaving early or having to shut my mouth when one of them is rude. How do I get out of going? Or if we choose to go, how do we keep the peace and set our boundaries that we don't want to be taken from others anymore? So my question or my response to that is the boundaries are not for other people because other people don't have to accept your boundaries, right? So your boundaries are for yourself. What are your limits? What are you going to take? What are you not going to take? What do you want to happen? So another tip is to plan something new or some activities that you want to experience in this gathering, right? So, and then to keep in mind, family gatherings are not the place to heal old wounds. Simply communicate your no's. Don't try to get into the reasons why you don't want to. Just enjoy the moment. It's a festive occasion. And then realize that not everyone will respect your boundaries. So have a plan. If this happens, you want to have a plan. Like, if this happens, I will do this. Or if this happens, I won't do that. So identify your limits and avoid hot topics. And you know the ones because they come up every single time you get together with your families. And then keep in mind, silence is very powerful. You don't have to respond. Have a brief statement of why you're not discussing this today and just let it go from there. Or just remain silent if one of your triggers comes up from a conversation that someone's egging you on. Just be silent. Don't give energy to it. And then take note of how your body's responding. If you have to step out away from everyone, take a deep breath and breathe and think about where you're feeling it in your body. Okay. You have free agency. So you have the power to end situations. You have the power to say no. You are not that little child that grew up in that family with the same old role. You're an adult. You're more enlightened. You're empowered. So don't revert to that old role that you used to play, because you're not that person anymore. Don't engage with the offender. Make sure you stay away from that individual. And choose your battles. If the offender seeks you out, try to pull them away and speak to them privately, and then set your expectations. Like, use I words instead of just I words. I feel, I want, I request that this hurtful behavior stops. And then if they don't comply, or they don't honor your wishes, then you don't have to stay. You don't. But manage your expectations and be realistic. So the person who tries to target you, they don't have to change. They won't change their patterns, basically. They generally won't. If they're an adult and they're still behaving that way, they're not going to change. But you can also bring a supportive friend, or even contact a family member that's going to be at the gathering, and let them know to be supportive of you, or help you change the subject when they get on this or that. Or if it becomes disrespectful, then have an exit strategy. And you don't have to stay the whole time. You can plan to have a short visit. You don't have to stay. You can or you can FaceTime. You can Zoom. You can send a gift. You don't have to be there. But have a backup plan. And then my suggestion would be to do some reflection on why, look on the reasons why you should not be attending. But beyond this, those are some minor things, but we're going to go into some deeper things, because there are millions of people carrying around a heavy load, and they have daily battles in which we may not know anything about. These people might seem to have a joyful spirit. They may always have a smile on their face. They may always be laughing. And they may be the kindest individual that you've ever met. Yet, they may be one of the most depressed people that you probably have ever known. But it's invisible because they have a facade, which is why we're having this discussion today. And North Black says, I'm spiritual, but grew up Christian. I did the same thing. I was Christian most of my life. And then I left the church, and I had to uncondition myself from the church, and went through those stages of grief, but I got unconditioned and then started being more spiritual. I agree. And the plan is a must. You already know. And then another thing to think about, though, is that that person is not going to change. So always have a plan. Like, it's very important, because you already know the triggers. You already know. So what I wanted to do is, I'm going to give you a quote and then we'll go into it. But Stephen King has one of the best quotes, and I love it, and I'm going to always use it. And it might resonate with you like it did with me. He said, "We did not ask for this room or this music. We were invited in. Therefore, because the dark surrounds us, let us turn our faces to the light. Let us endure hardship, to be grateful for the plenty. We have been given pain to be astounded by joy. We have been given life to deny death. We did not ask for this room or this music, but because we are here, let us dance." That's a beautiful quote. Now, as adult survivors of child abuse, we want to feel joy, inner peace, and to be focused in the present. We want to release the discomfort from the past. We want laughter instead of emotional pain. We want to release the pain and the energy trapped inside. We want to maintain joy, achieve serenity within, right? But adult survivors of child abuse are a silent group. We suffer in silence. We have trapped energy and pain. We maintain toxic family ties for fear of being alone or even from guilt. We keep private lives and find it very hard to trust. We are afraid to talk about our experiences for fear we will be judged. We don't want to appear broken. We create these stories about our lives that are not authentic. We create illusory lives and try to live up to perfection. And then we suppress these feelings. So holidays may be difficult for us if we are still in dysfunctional family connections. We have been blamed, shamed. We have a lot of anger within, fear, self-esteem issues, failed relationships that mimic the treatment we received from our parents or caregivers. And many of us have been estranged from their toxic families and feel isolated from others. So statistics show that report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds. Child abuse occurs at every social economic level, across ethnic and cultural lines, within all religions and all levels of education. Over 60% of people in drug rehabilitation centers report being abused as a child. About 30% of abused and neglected children will later abuse their own children in a horrible cycle of abuse. Survivors feel disempowered and have trouble getting through the day. Adult survivors turn to drugs and other vices to try to cope with the traumatic past. We all deserve inner peace. There is absolutely no reason for you to be walking around with the weight of the world on your shoulders. You were meant to be free of emotional discomfort so that you can live your best life. You came into this world with a path to make this world better, a better place for yourself, your loved ones, your partners, and community. Trauma is less about the memories and thoughts of the event and more about heartbreak, those gut-wrenching feelings that are stuck with sensations within your body that are intolerable. So when trauma happens, your body gets frozen into these feelings. Emotions are physical sensations. So when you feel hurt emotionally, you feel it in your gut, your chest and your gut. And when you feel joy, you feel it in movement and in your chest. So learn to take your power back and re-own your body, because that terror that keeps you frozen in heartbreak and terror will damage your immune system and it will begin attacking itself. Now, there's some misconceptions about child abuse, adult survivors of child abuse. Now, one, you will abuse or neglect your children. Neglected and abused children will become degenerate adults. 3, you cannot recover from trauma and neglect. Now, people who were abused vow to never hurt their children the way they themselves were mistreated. You're either gonna repeat patterns, or you're gonna become the parent you desired in your life to have. So other parents vow that they wish, vow to be the parent that they wish they would have had growing up. And then a few select people, it's not the majority, will get stuck in that fight portion of the subconscious mind. And they become detached from their heart chakra and has a heart chakra that needs balancing because it's too open. Therefore, that makes them more narcissistic. Now, these parents or caregivers essentially need to work on balancing the chakra with a practitioner who can help them to balance it, their energy system within their body. In addition to getting trauma out of the body, it's good to seek professional psychotherapy. Adults, survivors of child abuse tend to have a heart of gold. They are very nurturing adults who love people more than they love themselves. In fact, the degenerate adults may not have been abused at all, or they may have never even seen the inside of a jail. They've or been on drugs or hung out with so-called degenerates. These stereotypes are the very reason that people hide the pain that they're in for fear that they'll be judged as degenerate adults. Now, trauma survivors who are stuck in the freeze or fawn part of the trauma may have tried to help themselves to no avail because, and they just accept it or decided that this is their lot in life. And they accept being in that freeze mode. This is simply not true. You can reclaim and reshape your life. Every one of us on this planet incarnated with a special purpose. And it's our job to find out what that special purpose is, to be expressed to in the world to other people. Now, ways to recognize your true value. Do you always make yourself small around others? Are you judgmental? Are you reactive and rooted in negativity, gossip, or love negativity? Do you apologize all the time for every little thing? Where did you learn to be this way? People don't want those type of behaviors from you. When you behave in this manner, it puts people in a position to have to take care of you rather than you just being authentically who you are. It's time to release these things that are not truly who you are and allow the genuine to remain. Staying stuck is really a choice. Every day you make choices. So instead of staying stuck, I want you to say to yourself, I choose to release the past, find my authentic self, bring fun and joy into my life. Because you can make that choice. Every day you choose not to have inner peace, happiness, enjoyment, fun, or live a satisfying life, you're doing yourself a disservice. So please choose wisely and please choose you for a change. Now, no questions. I'm just checking for questions. One thing we do have to do is get out of toxic relationships. My recommendation is to make a goal of getting out of toxic family relationships or family ties or relationships, romantic partners, because you cannot begin the healing process until you do. Often teenagers are forced to stay in these types of family systems because they're not of age. But I do recommend, if it's a teenager listening, to seek out support systems until you're old enough to leave. Try to find online avenues to validate your humanity, like YouTube, Reddit, and other online spaces. Because if you're stuck in a toxic relationship due to financial dependency, it's very hard. So make a plan to get out, and that should be your main goal. So that means try to do well in school, get good grades, make that a plan so that you can have a good job when you graduate and get out of that family. Our healing journey requires inner child work. So if your inner child is seeing you being abused, your humanity mistreated, or if you're not following through with self-care, like working towards healing, doing small things like making your bed, taking care of your home, losing weight, getting off addictive drugs, then no amount of therapy will be a benefit because your environment is not really safe. Really, it's not. And you're not following through with your well-being. So your inner child, when it sees this, it says, I knew you wouldn't follow through. And then your treatment really isn't, it can actually set you back because you're still in a toxic environment. So get yourself into a safe environment that is conducive to healing and getting your adulting in a place where you can master the world and see your place in the world. And when you do this, you not only feel better, but it's the key to starting the process of releasing the pain, getting your environment safe. You cannot heal if the perpetrators are in your life or in your environment. So long-term dependence is the priority, especially if you're being sexually or physically abused. Now you can talk to a therapist, you can about your family system, your caregivers, what you felt like growing up in your family, about your struggles with fear or intimacy, thus finding the root cause. But in my experience, it was best for me personally to leave the past in the past. I had already visited too much. And so what happens is the energy gets stuck. And so to me, I felt like I could leave my dysfunctional family patterns behind because it's actually less about the past and more about the emotional sensations that's coming up. So I didn't want to rehash any of that. I just wanted to release what was trapped in my body. And then, you're on a healing path. Anything you want to change, it takes about a good 30 days of consistency. So begin with the practice, a practice of a new way of being, and consistency is the key. Take small steps towards change. Get yourself into some kind of program. You can take the traditional route or some of the suggestions that I will be providing you here today. Now, if you go the traditional route, go for therapists who have a niche of trauma recovery. Seek out therapists that don't just talk the whole time, but they will help you release what's inside of you. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. I had to cough. I have my fan on and I gotta get this dusty and I need to clean off my fan blade. Anyways, so I suggest somatic therapists because they help you get it out of your body. All right. So it's important to also get up and move your body and get out of that negative self-talk space. So start an exercise program, jump rope, dance, walk, push-ups, and you can do trauma yoga. Trauma yoga is a little different from the yoga, like the yogis, these little skinny yogis who can twist themselves into different knots. That's not what I'm talking about. Trauma yoga, we'll discuss it later. It it um, gets you out of the stuckness, out of your body. Um, so anything that will get you out of that being stuck is something you need to do, and you need movement to do that. So it's not your fault that you have the choice. You have a choice to move each day so that you won't be frozen into terror that stays trapped inside of you. And so we'll look at a few of these things that might benefit you. But one thing about childhood neglect, our natural parents were not there for us when we needed them emotionally for food, clothing, um, nurturing. We may have been in emotionally neglectful environments, and that translates to children that their thoughts, needs, and desires don't matter. So we learn to not trust how we personally feel, and we may not let people get close to us. And as children, we learn not to worry about what others think of us because we were so busy in survival mode trying to please mom or dad or another caregiver. So emotionally neglectful environments did not provide a secure foundation for us to grow and to thrive. Therefore, we struggle to know who we are or what we want in life. Nor does our family systems provide the opportunity for you to feel valued. And often children grow up into adults and they don't even realize these things about themselves, that they're following the same pattern over and over. And some symptoms of neglect for you to think about. Are you a people pleaser? And must you make things perfect for people? Are you easily upset or concerned about what other people think of you? Now, do you struggle to know how you feel until your feelings have become so overwhelming and you struggle, and your struggle is so real that you can barely recover from that event? So it's so real. Now, those are some symptoms of neglect. And on that topic of drugs and addiction, because a lot of people on trauma turn to drugs or become addicted to things, I'm only going to focus on one particular drug that in and of itself is not really harmful to the body if you use it in the natural form, like eating it in fresh salads, making juices, tonics. But when you smoke it, there are some serious risks, and I'm talking about marijuana. So users of marijuana have experienced a violent or emotionally abusive childhood, many of them, and they're in a desperate need to feel safe. And this is taken from a book called Metaphysical Anatomy. Your Body is Talking. Are You Listening? From Yvette Rose. So she says here that you look to safety in unhealthy circumstances, and it feels familiar, and you know how to cope in these circumstances. There is a lack of motivation. You often have no desire to become successful and have given up trying. Past success may come at a big price. So now you feel overburdened. There was not enough encouragement during your childhood, making you feel that you do not have what it takes to become successful. Your mistakes were often punished with hostility or humiliation. Heavy use of this drug does lead to mental disorder, psychosis, schizophrenia, and panic attacks. Bronchitis is also common with heavy smokers. Now, this is true, especially what they're doing. The legal marijuana is not organic. It's not something that I would recommend taking at all if you're going to smoke it, or even try to juice it. Try to get something that hasn't been tampered with. I'm going to take a poll in a couple minutes, but we're going to review some of the statistics that I have. I'm going to share my screen here. Oh, where did it go? There we go. So, any questions on that? Any comments or questions? I'm going to provide a couple tips that I have here. I've shared it on my page, but for children especially, we all, when we're stressed, we need to comfort ourselves quickly. These are some suggestions that I recommend. Soothing yourself through the physical senses. Relax in low lighting. Listen to ambient sound. I do recommend frequencies because I'll give you some information about that later on. Eat comfort food. Cuddling in a weighted blanket. Weighted blankets helps. If your child is having a hard time sleeping at night, get a weighted blanket. Get one for yourself. Those things really work well. Burn some incense or scented candles. Lavender is very calming. You can even put them in like a humidifier and mist the room, and it'll help you to calm down. Do some guided meditation or self-hypnosis. And here's other examples like sound. Listening to soothing music can help immensely. Or even having a conversation with someone who cares. Sight. Look at pictures that bring up good memories. Take a walk. Enjoy your surroundings. Look up places you want to see online, or look at travel magazines. And smell the candle. My favorite scent is lavender, so that always takes me to a happy place. You can sit outside and take in fresh air or sun, buy some fresh flowers. Those things all help your senses and it helps your mood. If you have a pet, dog and a cat, especially a cat, when the cat is purring, it's actually healing you. So there's also something that I teach my clients to do, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you have a stress ball, let me see if I can demonstrate this. So you have the ball and it's in the center, right? So you take this and you take the ball and you keep passing it back and forth, going to center, take it to the right, to the left, go back to center. When you start doing this, it takes your mind off of the anxiety and stress, and it helps balance the right and left brain. Just do this whenever you're emotionally upset. And it helps. If you can't go for a walk, try this, because you can only focus on one thing. You can't be angry or anxious when you're doing that. All right. Any questions, comments? So depression, a lot more people are depressed these days than it used to be in the past. It's very, very common. More than 264 million people suffer from depression worldwide. And this is according to the World Health Organization. Depression is the leading cause of disability in the world. Neuropsychiatric disorders are the leading cause of disability in the United States, with major depressive disorders being the most common. And that's been the case since 2013. So depression statistics in America, 17.3 million adults have had at least one major depressive episode. And these are the ones that are reported. There's so many that aren't even reported. Depression by age. So adolescents aged 12 to 17 has the highest rate of major depressive episodes. So parents, I grew up where I'd hear parents saying, you don't know what it is to be depressed. I have a lot of, You ain't got nothing to be depressed about, but yet parents 12 to 17, they have the highest rate of depression in the United States, Canada, UK. It's a global issue. So I have some tools and techniques that I want to like to share with you. Laughter therapy, EFT tapping. If you've seen people do this, tapping it's adapted from Chinese reflexology. And so there's some leaders in the tapping profession, like Louise Hay and Donna Eden. Donna Eden, actually, I studied her books. She actually not only taps on those different spots, but she shows you how to work with your meridian, your entire energy systems. So I'll share those things with you in a bit. But one of the things that helps a lot is important to learn to regulate your emotions. And I recommend journaling to do that. Your feelings connect you to humanity. Your feelings are connected to your realm of spirituality within your body. Emotions are actually a gift to you. So if you deny your gift of emotions, then you'll be stuck and living by default. And you might even begin feeling like a victim over and over and over again. So if you feel pain, ask yourself why the pain is there. What's the purpose of that pain serve? And why are you choosing to create pain through your emotions? Why is it that you do not choose to create joy? Every day you have a choice to, or a choice not to create joy. So let's start today. Start journaling. Journaling works with your subconscious mind to create change. So what I recommend when you first get up in the morning, within that first 30 minutes, instead of repeating affirmations out loud, journal. It works with your subconscious mind to reprogram your subconscious mind. And that's the most powerful time of day, 30 minutes before you get up. After you get up, and 30 minutes before you go to bed. That's when you can affect your subconscious mind. And then notice and track your feelings. I do have a blog that will be published soon, and there's some trackers, or you can Google Wheel of Life trackers or feeling trackers, and you can print them out and keep track of your feelings. Start with easy feelings until you get the courage to journal about bigger emotions. Describe your feelings. What are you feeling? Be patient and consistent, and realize that you were raised in an emotionally neglected home. So give yourself the opportunity to figure it out and learn to get to know the real you rather than denying emotions and feelings. And then attend to your needs. Take some time to acknowledge and honor your needs. Doing things at your own pace. It's not a race. When you have a problem, sometimes if you don't have a lot of friends or a social support system, here's a good tip. Imagine you have a good friend that has a problem. And then think about how you would help them. And any advice that you would give to that friend, because you're so concerned about them, apply it to yourself. So just pretend your problem is for a friend, and then take your own suggestions. Self-care is key, because you're telling your body, mind, spirit, soul, inner child that they are important. And then take periodic assessments and see where you're neglecting yourself. Set boundaries for yourself and others. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're overeating, not speaking up for yourself, then you need to address those lack of boundaries. And then Set a bedtime ritual and stay consistent. Make a list of things that make you feel nurtured and cared for, and do what soothes you. Reparent yourself and do the things for yourself that you wish your parents would have done for you. Accept help from other people. I know that sounds simple, but some people have trouble with that. Allow people to get to know you and start with those people you already know and trust. And then get to know the real, authentic you. Build yourself a support system, and that takes work. Make friends. And then first, keep it light at first. Text them, call them, and then let them know when you've had a bad day after you get to know them more. Set healthy boundaries with them and know that it's okay for you to say no. You'll find that they are okay with you saying no, that the only person that's having an issue with you saying no is you. So here's from a quote from Donna Eden in her book, Energy Medicine. She says, intense trauma to the body, psyche, or soul is like an earthquake that shakes up your energetic foundations. Some of the roads that are necessary for the spirit to be happy has been destroyed. The session would work on mending those roads so you could feel happiness inside yourself again. But in the mending of them, a lot of rubble that could make you uncomfortable for a while might also be unearthed. But in the long run, it's more beneficial because it'll be gone for good. And for people who have had a narcissistic mother or father or caregiver, I have this little tip for you. Now, if your mother, your father, or your caregiver, their higher self could speak to you, this is what they would say. They would say that they won't be able to recover from the traumas that they've experienced, but you can, because you have all the coding necessary to change your old family patterns so that your children won't have to repeat them. So if their higher self could actually speak to you, that is what they'd say. So again, people can't give you the love that they don't know how to give. If they can't even love themselves, they've never received it. So we have to learn to reparent ourselves. So here's a practice that you can do. You can get quiet and take some deep breaths. I always recommend deep breaths through the heart. And you start by, in succession, a series of 5 breaths, short, like inhale, 5 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it and then release it to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then after your deep breaths, I want you can put your hand on your heart, but hold your attention at the heart, and then close your eyes and visualize your heart, and visualize a light, a soft light in that area of your heart. And then say to yourself, I want joy, I want peace, I want grace, I want love. And as you say each phrase, pause, like when you say, I want joy, feel that joy coming up, and then move to the next one. I want peace, I want grace, and then feel that feeling. And then you keep trying this exercise, and you can even go deeper. You can keep doing it until you go into a meditative state. And when you get into that meditative state, that also helps you to release trapped, stuck energy. And repeat it every day. So there are many methods to relieve trauma. You can go to a psychotherapist to talk about what happened in the past. At the core of your being, it's not, though, really about what happened that matters. It's about how those sensations got stuck inside of your body from the heartbreak and the gut wrench. My aim is to assist you with releasing trauma that is trapped inside of you that can help you create the life you desire and achieve your highest potential. It's important to understand that our parents and our caregivers were not able to give what they didn't receive themselves. Love is what you deserve then and now. Your parents were not capable of giving you the love that you sought after. We're all created because of our own dynamic personality was desired by Creator. And your unique expression, your perspectives, your personality, and your ways of being are needed to be expressed into this world. So as a hypnotherapist, I put together custom treatment plans designed just for you. I will create powerful hypnotic suggestions that we both collaborate upon. I use various techniques to help them turn the negatives into the positives. I employ progressive relaxations, which we'll do one tonight before we stop the podcast. I use guided imagery, neuro-linguistic programming. I do biofeedback. What biofeedback is emotional regulation. So if you have issues with anger, biofeedback helps you to manage and control it and learn to control it on your own, as well as anxiety or any other dysregulated emotions you may have. I do inner child strengthening and tools that will help build self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, self-concept, and self-love. I do periodic assessments of your progress and use diagnostic tools. I'm with my clients every step of the way, leading them to their highest potential and their life path. So I normally start with a free consultation to discuss hypnotherapy goals. There could be clinical hypnotherapy, put a plan of action together. I do a series of personality, suggestibility, and diagnostic tests, and then learn how you take in information. And then that's when the hypnotherapy starts. And then you can always book now on my website, but I guarantee that clinical hypnotherapy can help you become the person that you want to be. You'll go from feeling alone and isolated and hard to trust others and feeling unlovable or unworthy, judged, stuck, trapped, doomed to repeat dysfunctional family patterns, to stepping into a more empowered individual that is lovable, confident, joyful, full of life, ready to take on the world and explore new possibilities, relationships, ways of being, moving, and existing into the world. So you have to make a plan of action. That means a wellness plan. I always say, make a wellness plan, not just for your health and wellness, for physical health. Don't depend on your doctor. You have to take charge of your body. Make a health plan. Make a mental health plan as well, because recovery is an inside job. You need to first make the decision that you no longer want to live in pain. The longer you carry the baggage, the heavier it gets. Year after year, the load becomes unbearable. You can either plan for successfully conquering your pain and your life script, or you can plan for pain to keep you captive. So the choice is really yours. You are worth it. Don't suffer in silence. You deserve to have a fulfilling, joyful life. The more you add joy into your life, the more it radiates out into others, especially your loved ones. Doing the work alone is not always the best option. You may need life script reprogramming, inner child work, and it should be done with a skilled professional. But journal your progress. So Stanley Rosenberg, he wrote this book, Assessing the Healing Power of the Vagus Nerve. He said, it doesn't matter how much you drive around, You will never get to where you want to go if you don't have the right map. And that's the same thing for, you need to know how to heal yourself. So that's why I'm giving you these tips. Now, on trauma yoga, this is really a good tool for you, because there are many methods of dealing with trauma, but trauma yoga helps relieve stuck energy. You acquire a sense of being in the present moment. When you're doing a pose, you either reestablish a sense of time. Survivors, child abuse survivors, feel their feelings and their emotions. They don't want to, they tend to not want to know what they know about. And that keeps their emotions stuck in the body. But yoga is a safe space to safely explore your body and experience yourself. When you hold those poses for like 5 minutes with breaths, it becomes a pleasant way to do the things that you wouldn't have normally done. So don't be shocked when you are asked to breathe and you notice what's coming up. Since trauma is how your nervous center integrated the experience, you'll need to work with the vagus nerve to release it. And trauma yoga is one of them. It resets your nervous system, and it's one of the fastest ways to relieve stress and anxieties, besides hypnotherapy. And it's the root cause of many health conditions when your vagus nerve is dysfunctional and not in balance. So access the power, healing power of the vagus nerve through yoga poses, because it will reset it and it'll deliver less pain, stress, and tension. So studies show that this yoga is more effective for treating PSTD than other trauma-based conditions, than medications. So medication, trauma yoga, it's up to you. So trauma yoga significantly reduced PSTD symptomology with, it says, with effect sizes comparable to well-researched psychotherapeutic and psychopharmacologic approaches. Yoga may improve the functioning of traumatized individuals by helping them to tolerate physical and sensory experiences associated with fear and helplessness, and increase emotional awareness and affect tolerance. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't take medicine. I'm just highlighting the powerful effect of yoga, because it will reduce those emotional sensations that are trapped within the body, and therefore you feel better and more, and it's beneficial for you. You don't have to worry about the side effects. So the vagus nerve exercises also turns off the fight and flight in the parasympathetic nervous system. It releases that trauma that's stored. So I want to play this video for you guys. What part was helpful, North Black? Well, you think you can put the comment in the chat, but I'm going to play a video that will be helpful for you. 1 second here. And it's showing you what trauma yoga is like, so you won't discount it. Here it is.
Roll to the sides of your feet. Stretch your ankles. Going side to side, find your rhythm. We'll do this 7 or 8 times each side. And then stop and shake it out. Exercise number 2, Betsy, is heel lift. Going to be working the calf muscle. So step your right foot back. The weight should be in the front foot. Back foot is for balance. Going to lift the front heel off the ground. And you're going to work to your 7 on a scale of 0 to 10. When your calf muscle is fatigued, reaching that 7, stop, shake out your legs, and then we'll do the other side. Now the right leg. Right foot forward. Lifting the heel up and down off the floor. Working the lower leg, the calf. Find your 7 on a scale of 0 to 10 and stop and shake it out. Kevin, exercise number 3 is working your upper legs. It's working your thighs and your hips. All right, with the right leg back and your left leg forward, you're going to be fatiguing your left leg. Sitting the hips back like you're sitting into a chair, working the weight in your left leg. All right, so the back leg is a kickstand, come up. Let's try to get the weight back into the hips and the legs. That's it, the knees not coming over the toes. When the fatigue gets to a level 7 on a scale of 0 to 10, you'll stop, shake it out, and do the other side. Good. Hips move back. Very good. Good. Chest is upright. Shake it out, and do the other side. Right foot in front, left foot back. Good. Sitting back and coming up. More weight in the right leg than the back leg. When that leg reaches a 7, scale of 0 to 10, stop, shake it out. Nice job. Kathy, we're doing exercise number 4. Right? You're going to be stretching your inner legs.
So I kind of wanted you to just see what trauma yoga was like so that you wouldn't discount it, because it's not very difficult, but it's very, very powerful. North Black recognition of trauma. Yeah, a lot of people don't even know that they're still affected by trauma, but yet they are very affected by trauma. So hopefully you can employ some trauma yoga. There's a lot of YouTube videos that you can do it for free in the comfort and safety of your own home. But it would be good to reach out to a practitioner because it's more effective when you're getting that personalized training or care. So the other thing is breath work. Breath work offers you a way to unblock trauma and achieve states of relaxation. Breath work has been used for thousands of years in Eastern culture, ancient Kemet or Egypt, in a lot of cultures, matriarchal cultures like Tai Chi, Qigong, and other modalities. So people who have endured trauma and addictions can experience a transformation mentally, spiritually, and the physical effects are astonishing. So pain manifests itself in various ways. So breath work can be used to release it out of the body. Breath work supports self-healing and is something you can do in addition to your therapeutic goals when you're working with a professional. And then you also learn self-awareness through these techniques for breathing. There's you can do free breathwork class online with One Breath Institute. If you Google One Breath, it's One Breathwork Institute. If you Google that, you can join a free group, and they have once per week you can do that, and Also, solfeggio frequencies. Listening to frequencies first thing in the morning. I recommend 528 hertz for at least 20 to 30 minutes and use headphones. You can make a playlist of frequencies so you can listen to them at least 3 times a day. Like play 40 hertz like at noon for 20 minutes. And prior to bedtime, maybe work with the root chakra frequencies to heal the frequency at night, and stay consistent. Do this consistently for 30 days. Somatic work, or the EFT tapping technique, which was revised from reflexology again. But also EMDR is a structured therapy that encourages the patient to briefly focus on the trauma memory while simultaneously experience a bilateral simulation, like eye movements, while I'm not a practitioner, but which is associated with a reduction of the vividness and emotion associated with the trauma memories. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy is extensively researched. It's a psychotherapy method proving to help people recover. If you choose that, that's one option. EFT is very powerful. It helps a person to use affirmative words to change the thought patterns about their trauma. EFT helps releasing trauma by using positive words while you're tapping, and acceptance to help retrain the brain. You can you can change your negative situation into one of acceptance, tenderness, and compassion. An example of this is, even though I was assaulted, I completely love and accept myself. By practicing acknowledging the trauma is possible for a person to begin the healing process. And so I'm going to play a video of Louise Hay demonstrating this self. Is something that I use with my clients prior to going into hypnosis. We do the tapping, and this is only for some clients who might have PSTD, but it's beneficial to learn it. So here is the clip.
Let's start tapping on the side of the hand, and you just give me a positive affirmation. What do you, if you were talking to someone else and they said, well, I had this trauma when I was 5 years old and I felt so much terror, what would be the positive affirmation for that?
Okay, all right. You know you have an angel. We all have angels, and you have a special angel that is your own. And in spite of all that you have gone through, this angel has taken care of you and protected you all your life. And you can call on this angel now to help dissolve the rest of this issue.
Go ahead, my point.
The rest of this issue of pain and fear, this issue of being terrorized by life, this issue of being helpless and not being able to have anybody take care of you, feeling all alone and frightened. But you have an angel now, and you know this angel is here. This angel can hear. This angel is with you. This angel will protect you for the rest of your life. It will dissolve any issues that you've been through. It's time for you to be free now. You can run and dance and play and be who you were meant to be. Be who you were born to be. You are safe now. It's safe to feel safe. It's safe to be safe. It's safe to let go. There's a great freedom and a great love surrounds you. And all is truly well with your life now. And so it is.
And so it is.
Oh, that was interesting. I didn't know where that came from.
Sorry about that. I tried to find her book, but that was Louise Hay, the late, great Louise Hay. She actually has a book called You Can Heal Your Life. Wherever you, when earlier I asked you, when you're in a stressful situation around your family and you take an assessment and you feel a certain way in your body when you're taking a deep breath, where you're feeling it, is it in your stomach? Is it in your shoulders? Louise Hay breaks down what the issue is and how to recover from it. So I'm also going to play another one with Donna Eden. She has this book called Energy Medicine. This is a very comprehensive book that breaks down your energy systems and how to heal certain things, certain trapped energy in your body. So this is a good book to have in your library. So I'm going to play this.
What are some great techniques to relieve stress and anxiety? Hi, I'm Donna Eden, and I have been in the field of energy medicine for 40 years now.
And I'm David Feinstein. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I have been integrating energy work into clinical psychology with really great success.
And people ask us all the time, what are some great techniques to relieve stress and anxiety? And I'm going to show you a couple. This first one takes just a little bit longer, but you will love it so much you won't care. And it's easy. It's easy peasy, as my grandson would say. And that is right here. And many of you have, when you've gotten stressed or shocked, you've thrown your hand up to your head and maybe not thought about it. But I think our ancient ancestors must have done the same thing, but kept their hand there. Because when you get stressed, you can lose, you lose a lot of blood from your forebrain that goes into the body for the fight or flight response. And you can, if it's a bad enough stress, you could lose up to 80% of the blood in your forebrain. So you don't have all your marbles to think things through with. And so if you put your hand here, your hand is electromagnetic, and so is the blood, and it literally draws the blood up like a magnet. And it's really, really excellent to lift you up out of stress.
So it interrupts the fight or flight response. The blood has gone into your arms, your chest, your legs for the fight or flight response. This brings it back, and when that happens, the whole chemistry of fight or flight gets interrupted.
And may I say that if you're going through a lot of stress in your life, instead of constantly going over it in your mind or anything like that, hold your hand up here, or hold two hands, maybe the pads of your fingers right here, and then your thumb in your temples. These are all neurovascular points, and if you hold them while you're thinking of your stress, it will lift you up and out of the stress. And a second technique is really simple, and I'm going to show it to you and explain why it works. If you take one of your hands and place it over your heart chakra, which is right at your upper chest here, and in between the fourth and fifth fingers on the outside of your hand, you begin tapping there while you're thinking of your stress. The reason why this works is that this is a meridian line on triple warmer, and triple warmer is that energy that governs fight, flight, or freeze, and you literally interrupt that flow. And so you think about your stress, and you just tap. And it might take up to a minute, and maybe all of it will be gone then, but if it isn't all gone, put the other hand up and tap that side.
And also the heart chakra is the energy that bathes the heart. And the heart is all about your deep emotions. So it's doing a double whammy by working triple warmer and heart at the same time.
Yes. A third way is when you get very stressed, there's a buildup of stress chemicals in your body that you really need to move out of your body. So if you take that stress you're thinking about, think about it, put your arms out in front, make a fist, and breathe around and lift your arms high. And now as you think, blow it out. And when you blow it out like this, you're going down central meridian, making that energy blow out that energy. And then your chakras are right here. You also have something else called the penetrating flow. And it goes right, that's exactly where your hands go, are on the penetrating flow. So you're getting 3 different energy systems right there moving out of your body.
So that was Donna Eden. When I was at the University of Minnesota, I took an energy medicine class, and we actually practiced her techniques, and I've been practicing them for myself ever since. Another thing you can do is hemisync exercises or use the frequencies, just like solfeggio or binaural beats. Hemisync is a way you can retrain your brain and your mind to achieve mental states that you desire. You learn to either focus your brain to peak performance and concentration, or you relax your mind and body into a deep, calm, meditative state. And you can use it to help you sleep, alleviate pain, accelerate the restorative process. You can even use binaural beats, as I mentioned, to induce deep meditation states or enhance lucid dreaming, remote viewing, and many other benefits. Hemisync stands for hemispheric synchronization, and it's one of the technology's immediate effects. So you can experience by watching, listening to frequencies while completely doing these hemisync exercises, or you can use the frequency in your downtime. So brain synchronization is beneficial, and it creates a whole brain state for balancing your emotions, learning to overcome anxiety, stress, irritability. It opens up your feelings, it builds self-confidence, reduces self-sabotage, and more. And I'm going to play a video of what the exercise looks like. And here you go.
Hi guys, I have 5 really easy brain training exercises that you can do. Hemispheric integration exercises, brain synchronization exercises. Basically, they all do the same thing. They cause the neurons from each side to kind of scramble together and reach each other and intertwine and wire together. And of course, these are the pathways that we use for everything. We use them to heal in traumatic brain injuries. We use them to make students faster at reading, but we just use them to make our brains operate faster. So this is the first one, shoot the thumb. We've done this before, but I wanted to give you a little tutorial. Finger out, no other finger, no thumb. Thumb up. Now we're just going to switch. Finger out, thumb up. Finger out, thumb up. Finger out, thumb up. And then, turn the radio on in your car when you're driving, hit a red light, and do this to the beat. Right? And we've talked about it before, but you can make it harder by crossing your arms. And you can make it even harder if you cross in and out. This is hard. See, I did it wrong. All right, try that one. Number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Point again. 1. Point. 2. Point. 3. Point. 4. Point. 5. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. I should probably practice these things before I record, right? All right, next one. Fingers, right? So thumbs out, index finger out, middle finger out, pinky, middle finger. Probably good for your dexterity too. And then we have the wax on, wax off. So I don't care if you go up first and then down second, or the other way around. The key is to make big circles with your hands and for them to alternate, so that you're kind of almost doing like a figure 8 in a sense, right? You're alternating hands and then you go the other direction, alternating hands. This is a really easy synchronization. You could actually, wash the car while you're doing this. Good for your brain and your car. All right, and then one that's a little bit harder is if you're sitting on the ground or you're in a chair, you could tap your knees. I'm at a table, so I could tap my desk. One hand goes to my nostril, other hand goes to tap my ear or hold on to my ear. Tap, switch, tap, switch, tap, switch, tap, switch, tap, switch. Okay, 5 easy to do brain synchronization exercises that will work for you. Bye, guys.
Those are really good. They may look silly, but they really balance your brain and so beneficial for you. So I have a quote from the book, the author of the book, Bringer of the Dawn. And it goes like this: focus on the dance of yourself. To what tune will you dance? What magic will you perform? And to what heights will you be willing to push consciousness to give it a new definition of possibilities? So that's something to ponder for yourself. So the next tool that you can use is clinical hypnotherapy. Now, trauma recovery has an important element of hypnosis and trance work throughout history. The shamans, lodge and shaman rites help bridge the visible and invisible world to restore lost or broken parts of a person. The most noted method is soul retrieval, restoring a person to that has become lost in time and space. Now, hypnosis in the West has undergone different changes from its ancient roots of Egypt or Kemet. Nevertheless, the work continues to influence such investigators. So this individual, Burnham, Lesbelt, and Janet, who recognized dissociation as a factor in both hypnosis and trauma, through the case history of Anna O. And Freud found out that by systematically taking the patient back through time to the first occurrence of the symptom from a traumatic event, a cure could be effective. So awareness is 85% of the healing. So in addition to its continued use in both medical and psychological trauma recovery, hypnotherapy has been employed since the First World War I to help desensitize and restore individuals who had been injured psychologically in the war. like shell shock, battle fatigue, and currently combating stress or combat-related post-traumatic stress disorder. Hypnosis remains an exceptional it remains exceptional in cognitive or body-mind interventions, and it actually, studies show it's more effective than the traditional route of psychotherapy. Just so you know, many insurance providers do allow for you to be treated with hypnotherapy. You can either get an pre-approved, set up billing, get reimbursement, or you can use your HSA or FSA or HRA cards. I personally do accept insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Community Care Network for veterans and their families. So you can just set up a phone consultation to see if insurance will be, your insurance would accept hypnotherapy. Now, here's another therapy that is employed. I have so many different ones that I do use. So I'm going to play this video to show you something you can do at home. And this is one of my videos that got over 1,000 views because it is effective. So here you go. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining me. We're going to try a little bit of laughter therapy. So before we get started, let's take an assessment of how we're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the best you can possibly be, and 10 the worst. So let's take an assessment of how stressed, how bored, how frustrated, or whatever you're feeling. Let's take an assessment. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in from your feet all the way up to the top of your forehead and back down. 1. Exhale. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And take your assessment from 1 to 10. Good. What was your number? Keep track of that. So here's where the participation comes in. I'm going to say a couple jokes, and we're going to laugh on each one of these jokes. And the point of it is, these are corny jokes. They may not be that funny. Some may think that it's really, really funny, but we're going to laugh. The point of it is to laugh, and because laughter is actually healing. Studies have shown laughter improves your immunity, helps your health, it reduces stress, and it improves your outlook on the world. So let's take a few minutes to start getting light and not think of laughing as something frivolous, something that is just silly and not important, because it actually is healthful for your overall immunity and for refreshing and rejuvenating your spirit. So I'm going to tell you a few jokes, and then we're going to laugh. Please join me in laughing, indulge me a little bit, and see if you don't feel better afterwards, okay? So my first joke is, what do you call a group of porcupines? A prickle. Okay, I thought that was so funny. Okay, here's another good one. What did the mug say to the police? I got mugged. Okay. Another good one is, there's a guy on the street panhandling, and he has a speech impediment. He stutters, okay? So there's this teenage kid listening to his music on with his earbuds, with his iPhone or whatever he's listening to. And the guy walks over. He's asking for a few coins from everybody he meets. So he walks over to the kid, and the kid has to pull out his earbuds, right? And the guy walks over and he said, "Let me get a quarter." And so the kid looks at him, really irritated, and he goes, "Dude, that's $1." And he gets onto the bus. Okay. I heard that one from I can't even think of his name. I got that from somewhere on TikTok. Okay. So here's another really, really good one. This one is sure to get you laughing. Really, really hard. Let it come from the belly. From the belly. Okay. So I heard this one on TikTok too. So a frog goes into the bank. And as he walks up, he notices the teller's name, Patty Wack, right? So he says, "Miss Wack, I need $50,000 for a vacation." And she looks at him in disbelief, and she says, and the frog says to her, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay. I'm Kermit Jagger. My dad's Mick Jagger, and he knows the bank manager." And so this confuses Patty, and she says, "Well, in order to secure a loan, you're going to need some collateral." And without hesitation, he says, "Oh, no problem. This ought to do it." So he reaches in his back pocket and he pulls out a tiny porcelain elephant. This situation is beginning to frustrate Patty. So she goes into her bank manager and she said, "There's this frog and he's trying to get a loan. And he pulls out this tiny elephant. And what is that?" The bank manager looks at Patty and he says, "It's a knick-knack, Paddywhack. Give the frog a loan." Okay. And this last one, why did Adele cross the road? To sing "Hello" from the other side. Okay. Now, let's breathe in and breathe out. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, did that number improve? I can guarantee you that number went down if you participated and you actually laughed. Thank you for joining the Subconscious Mind Architect. So you guys caught me being silly, but laughter is very healing for your soul. So another therapy that I employ is regression therapy. And one of them is not just past life regression, but quantum healing. So this is an ancient practice that was taught in ancient Kemet or Egypt. The cultures that held on to this practice were the Buddhist, Hindu, and Vedic cultures. And it's a standard practice in the East. So you meet a lost loved one in a session. In session, in hypnosis, you can go to the Temple of Knowledge, the Akashic Records. You can meet your spirit guides, your counsel. You can resolve issues from this lifetime and clear karma. You can clear ancestral trauma. You can get unstuck and back on your life track. Now, you may have inexplicable fears and phobias that you have no history of in this lifetime. And there may be no rational reason for you to have the fear. Let's say you have a deathly fear of spiders and or an overinflated reaction to a tiny spider no bigger than a dot written on a page. But you feel as though you want to die or you think you're going to die. There being nothing that has ever happened that can explain this reaction. And this is called an imprint from a previous lifetime. So quantum healing can remove those issues from other lifetimes. Also, I do inner child work. The child aspect is a little part of the self that when adults, the self that adults resonate to through their emotions. Now, this aspect shows up positively in adults through creativity, through discovery, play, intimacy, enthusiasm, love, passion, intuition, belief, curiosity, among others. The child aspect may also be hurt, and some clients may be carrying around the pain of their childhood due to early dysfunction within their family system. This pain has become a subconscious known association. And since the subconscious doesn't have a concept of time, a client may be 50 and still feel the pain he felt at age 5. And it's like it happened to them yesterday. Instead of 45 years ago, the adult then, their hurt child aspect as an adult, they have it. So this is a large part of the work that I work with clients who have trauma, healing the hurt child aspect. In the hypnotherapy setting, it might be different from person to or client to client. There may be somewhere between you can do 3, 6, 10 sessions. It really depends on the client. Or the issues. It could be around weight, addiction, hoarding, abuse, divorce, anger, whatever the issues, the hurt child aspect, whatever you're experiencing with the hurt child aspect, we want to heal the wounds of the past. So a few additional negative emotions that the hurt child aspect may attach to that you might be carrying around is shame, rejection, abandonment, and guilt. The hypnotherapist will invite you to connect with your inner child aspect. And so when you believe in the process and that we're here to help you, not everyone needs to actually revisit the past, but connecting with the child aspect may be perceived as going back. For some clients, it's not the right approach. This is perfectly fine since the hypnotherapist has many tools to work with to release trapped, stuck energy out of the body and reprogram those negative associations from the past. But keep in mind that some issues are out of scope for hypnotherapists, such as sexual abuse issues, but hypnotherapy can be used as an adjunct with your psychotherapy. Regarding sexual abuse issues, though, we do require a referral. So here are some symptoms of a hurt child aspect: unexplained anger and outbursts or feelings of aggression, wanting to control the behaviors of those closest to you, feeling like people do not like them, fear of abandonment and rejection, fear of authority figures, or you might even be hostile towards authority, problems with intimacy, feeling unworthy, not good enough, not comfortable with challenges, intimidated by sex or love partners, past and current. Always you need to be perfect. You compulsively go for getting it right. Not able to hold on to lasting relationships, addictions of all kinds, afraid to express your needs, uncomfortable with love and affection, acting out sexually or lack of sexual involvement, afraid for others to see your true self because it could be flawed, the hidden shame of self, guilt over not living up to the expectations of others, chooses partners who are abusive or emotionally absent. So if you have any of those issues, inner child work will work for you. So the first thing, we did talk about getting out of toxic relationships and families, and building a support system. So find your community, because loneliness and isolation is dangerous. We all need a support system. So take inventory of your friends. Are they wholesome, reciprocal in your relationships? Are they kind? Do they listen to you? Are they unconditional? So take an assessment of whether they are dependable and authentic, a good person that brings out the best in you. So I encourage you to start building a support system a little at a time. There are several things you can do to build a tribe online, but I encourage you to build your social support system in person, because that's important. And here are some ways you can do that. Volunteer to meet caring people who are like-minded. There's a lot of volunteer opportunities. Find your local meetup groups on event pages for your city. There's lunch, coffee, business, jogging, hiking meetups, all types of meetups, movie meetups, it's all kinds. Classes. Take a class. Art, yoga, dance. Take small steps when you finally meet the people. Just take small steps by starting with texting, then maybe doing walks together, and then lunch, and then build on it. Be the friend that you want to have yourself. You can also do this. If you're isolated, if you removed your toxic family, you can organize a holiday event. There's a lot of spaces that are really inexpensive that you can decorate and, pay a small fee for. And you can invite people who don't have families. Have them RSVP. Bring a dish. Sorry, I forgot to turn off the fan. You can have each person bring 2 gifts, inexpensive, one for a male, one for a female, and then you share. Make it a yearly tradition. When you start meeting people and get to know their strengths and their weaknesses, whether they're dependable or not dependable, do they listen to you and your concerns or your interests? Are they open and allow for weaknesses? I don't normally use this fan, so, but anyways, be open and allow for weaknesses. But so if miscommunications happen when you're starting adding people into your life, but be open. Don't get immediately offended and cut them off. Try to ask for clarification first. Remember, be the friend you want to have yourself. Get to know whether you can build a lasting relationship with them. And when you're around your friend, are you uplifted and refreshed, or do you feel drained because your relationship is not reciprocal? Does the individual allow for you to be yourself and share your good and bad times? Everybody wants acceptance, so you have to give acceptance. Don't just make assumptions or judgments. It takes 2 people to be in a relationship. So make a contact list of people within your circle. Put their name, and you need this list. Put their name, contact information, and how they support you. It's important to have this list, because if you are feeling disconnected, you can call someone and go out for coffee or just to talk. Try to call them and check on them regularly, and be sure that you talk about your interests. Or if you've built enough trust between the 2 of you, you can talk about that you might be feeling sad or whatever your concern is. So social health is just as important as mental, physical, and spiritual health. So make the effort to connect in person, because we're living at a time with so many people who are depressed, so many people that are under stress and feeling isolated and alone, especially young people. So, and I'm going to play this last video. It's a TED Talk, because it's going to emphasize my point exactly. And here you go.
Died at 22. It would have taken weeks before anyone would have noticed. Because at 22, I was studying, I lived on my own, and I'd pulled myself away from everyone without anyone really noticing. The next minutes will not be about me. It will, however, be about the work that I'm trying to do. Because 2 years ago, I decided to put an end to loneliness. The loneliness that I and my co-founders had experienced in our own lives was enough for us to quit our jobs and start a company called No Isolation. But we had no idea of what we were getting into and how big the issue really was. And I don't think that you do either. Loneliness is not just a sad feeling that we need to get rid of because we want people to be slightly more happy. Loneliness is dangerous. People suffering from loneliness is in a constant fight or flight mode. A stress mode very much equal to the one I'm experiencing right now. Only there's a huge difference between me experiencing this for a couple of minutes now and living with it for years. These increased stress levels lead to a number of things, but there are some consequences that are more severe than others. Several studies have shown that feeling lonely results in a 29% increased risk of heart disease. Feeling lonely also increases the risk of having a stroke with 32%. You might not believe it, but when it comes to heart disease, loneliness is a bigger killer than obesity. So if we could do our own mini experiment, and all of you could raise your hand. And please keep it there until told otherwise. So think about the feeling of being all alone. How it is like to not have anyone you feel you can talk to or reach out to in a moment. Now everyone who has never had that feeling can take their hands down. Good. So all of us, it's okay. So all of us have experienced loneliness, but 16% of the Norwegian population reports that they're being haunted by loneliness every day. And that's in Norway. According to the United Nations, we're the happiest country in the world. And still 16% is 800,000 people in this tiny country alone that feels like they have no one to talk to on a day-to-day basis. And when you consider how big of a taboo loneliness actually is, it gets worse because people do not willingly admit to being lonely, meaning that 16 is probably too low. The relationship between age and loneliness is shaped like a U. The youngest and the oldest generations are the most lonely generations. And while most research is focused on the seniors, the amount of lonely young people is severely underestimated. It should be no surprise to anyone here that lonely children, teenagers, and young adults perform worse at school, are more depressed, and experience more suicidal thoughts than their socially connected peers. And then there are children suffering from long-term illness. And with long-term illness, I mean ME and CP and cancer and heart failure, all of these diagnoses. And they're particularly exposed to being socially isolated and lonely. And they lose their place in society with their diagnosis. It's not always easy to find their way back. I didn't realize how important this issue was until I met a woman named Anna. 14 years before I met her, one of her twin daughters was diagnosed with a form of cancer. And Cornelia lost her life after having spent 2 years moving in and out of various hospitals. But when Cornelia passed away, Anna looked back on the previous 2 years with grievance, because the worst thing had not been the diagnosis or the treatment or the pain, but the fact that her teenage daughter became isolated from her friends and her normal life. A 13-year-old girl is a 13-year-old girl, and no diagnosis in the world can take away her social needs. But an illness will definitely get in the way of her acting upon those needs. So let's move on to something slightly less heavy. I guess that all of you have heard of Tinder. It's a dating app. Yeah. I have a theory that Tinder has actually done more for public health than we give them credit for. Yeah. We could discuss it forever, because despite Tinder doing the very best job they can, more people than ever before are single. And that is actually a huge problem, because the single strongest predictor for loneliness is not your age. It is whether or not you're in a relationship. As a single woman, I am 4 times more likely to be haunted by loneliness than women who are in a relationship. But the silver lining is that in this matter, I'm very lucky to be a girl, because that guy, he's 10 times more likely being haunted by loneliness than his mates who are in relationships. And yes, it is a fact that single people are more miserable than those who are hitched. You would think that by 2017 we would have figured out how to properly connect people. But it looks like we're getting worse at it. Loneliness has become a pandemic. It does not discriminate on age or gender or borders. It happens all over the world, and it happens most frequently to those of us who are already vulnerable. And as I said in the beginning, I don't think I can stress this enough. The constant flight or fight mode results in a 29% increased risk of heart diseases. That's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes every day. It is more dangerous than being an alcoholic. And on top of these physical risks, there's one more thing. Feeling lonely doubles your likelihood of getting dementia. Obviously, there's an enormous individual cost in that of feeling all alone. There's also an enormous public cost. People getting sick is expensive. It is extremely expensive. And to give you a specific example of how loneliness is expensive, we can stay on dementia, because 66% of all the money we spend on mental health care is spent on people suffering from dementia. And loneliness doubles your risk of developing it. So we're going to add one more number, 12%. 12% of the Norwegian population is daily smokers. 16% of us, or maybe more, are haunted by loneliness. We know that both of them gives you an equally increased risk of heart disease and strokes. So it's both extremely dangerous, and one of them is even exceptionally painful. But the governments of the world is clearly focusing on only one of them. But what can you really do? We set up taxes for cigarettes, and then we ban smoking inside. It is quite obvious that we can't use the same methods for curing loneliness. So where do we start if we want to have an impact on a global scale? Well, I started with studying almost the opposite of psychology, as I chose computer science. And the debate around the impact of technology on loneliness is growing. Some argue that the use of technology is replacing human contact. Others argue that technology is all we need to establish new relations. I think the debate lacks one key insight, because it is not about the technology at all. We could say that it is somewhat about what the technology does, and somewhat about how we as consumers use technology. But most importantly, it's about the people who develops the technology that we use. They choose how it works and what it does. And different things does different things. And it's people who develop the stuff we use. Developments in communication technology have emerged rapidly.
So that is very serious, that we've been socialized and conditioned to be alone and singular, especially during the pandemic. More people are having trouble leaving their homes now because we've been socialized into it. So over the next month, go out, make a new connection. When that friendship becomes solid, go out and make another connection, because we need at least 3 connections to make a support system. Ideally, you'll want these type of friendship. Someone you can go out, have fun, and get into trouble with. A connection where you have a common interest, like working out, hiking, book club, whatever that is. You want your workspace friend or workplace friend. That friend that can be a sounding board, who's not afraid to challenge you or put you in your place when you're wrong. That friend that shares your spiritual beliefs. Your LGBTQ plus tribe, that guru friend that knows a lot about business, maybe, and your volunteer connections. So if you're interested in me creating a group that is a safe place or space or support for people who have a similar interest on their healing journey, please leave me a comment on my website, quintessentialroots.com, or my Facebook page. And I'm going to leave you with this. I want to recommend a couple books. First, Homecoming by John Bradshaw. There's a lot of helpful information on overcoming trauma, how to self-parent, because we have to learn how to reparent ourselves, people who have been experienced trauma. There's a book called Self-Parenting, The Complete Guide to Your Inner Conversations. And this is by John K. Pollard, Pollard. The next one is The Unavailable Father by Sarah Rosenthal. The next book is The Emotionally Absent Mother by Dora Gaunt, Gaunt. And the last book I've mentioned before, The Body Keeps the Score by Sean Sean Pratt, Pratt. And I'm going to check for comments now. No comments. I want to leave you with this quote, and we're going to end for the day. Now you can confidently say, I may not have asked for this music or this room, but as long as I'm here, I will sing a soulful song and dance this cosmic dance with joy in my life. Because you made that decision to heal and change your life. Thank you. Any comments? You're very welcome, Robin. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. Any other questions before we wrap it up today? The tools that I gave today, actually, it would cost you hundreds of dollars to get it from a therapist or a hypnotherapist. But I do want people to heal. And so if you know anyone who you feel could benefit from this podcast, please share it with them, post it to your page, because this information needs to be shared with the world. There's a lot of people walking around in trauma, and we don't have to be that way. There is a solution. Any other comments? Well, thank you so much. Join me next week, 4 o'clock, same time, Sunday at 4. And you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Peace.